What is going on, guys? Alex here, and the iPhone X was released just a day ago. It's pretty much Apple's most revolutionary iPhone since the first one that they released, but today we're taking a look at whether you should buy one. So in terms of why I would recommend buying one of these phones, it's pretty much because you know it's going to get the latest software updates, and obviously it is Apple's latest device, so if you're one of the Apple fanboys then it's definitely a must-have. But there are a couple of reasons why I personally would like to buy one if I could, and one of those is the animojis, or the animated emojis, which use face tracking to make the emoji essentially mimic what your face does when you look at the screen, which is actually quite a clever technology, and it may kind of be like a fidget spinner in a way where it's just kind of a phase and no one ends up using it after that. Honestly, I think it is quite a cool concept, and of course that is something that a lot of people will be attracted to, which is why they would buy it. Secondly, the screen is just amazing from what I've seen on every single review and article that I've watched. Everyone is just saying how awesome that screen is, especially as it's the first iPhone to have a kind of bezel-less type of design. Despite the fact there are like a little bit of bezels on the side, it just looks absolutely stunning as a phone, and that is obviously another reason to buy it. And in terms of color, apparently the screen is also amazing, which is obviously a really good thing, especially considering the Pixel 2 XL and all the issues that had. Performance-wise, it's obviously going to be the best in the line of iPhones right now. It's pretty much going to be the same as the iPhone 8, just on a much better looking phone. And speaking of the iPhone 8, the iPhone X has better cameras in terms of the fact that it's 12 megapixel sensors and bigger camera units themselves. But from what I've seen on example footage, the iPhone X image stabilization, the optical image stabilization, honestly isn't all that good. It's actually quite clunky. So that is definitely a big disadvantage if you're in the market for an iPhone where you shoot a lot of video. In terms of price, the iPhone X is ridiculously expensive, especially if you live in the UK. So it's $999 in the US, but if you live in the UK, that would be the equivalent of about £750. But no, Apple decided to price it at £999, which is completely ridiculous. It's actually cheaper to fly to New York, pick up an iPhone, and fly back than it is to buy an iPhone in the UK. It's ridiculous. Not only that, if you get the 256GB model, it's actually a little bit more expensive than the baseline 13-inch MacBook Pro, which is, I think that pretty much speaks for itself. It's just overpriced. Obviously, the one that everyone's expecting me to talk about is the fact that there is no home button, so they've replaced that with Face ID. And whilst, yes, that may be the future for Apple, honestly, I don't think Face ID is going to last all that long in their iPhones.
Unlocking it is as easy as looking at it and swiping up. And, you know, let's try that again. Ho ho ho!
It's pretty obvious that they wanted to implement a home button underneath the screen, or a fingerprint scanner underneath the screen, but obviously as that technology isn't available, they went with Face ID, and as with every facial recognition concept, like on the Note 8, they start off pretty good and then eventually they just wear over time, and that's what I'm afraid will happen with the iPhone X. Or the iPhone X, should I say. And that will be something then that will actually take away from the experience, because we were all hoping to see a fingerprint scanner in the lock button like you see on the new Razer phone, or on the original Nextbit Robin, and actually as well on the Xperia Z5, those all had fingerprint scanners in the buttons. In terms of durability, it's an all-glass phone, meaning it's not going to withstand very much, and there's actually reports of people dropping their phones and breaking them in the first day of having them. It doesn't really hold up very well, considering the back glass replacement is $500 if you live in the US, and the front screen is something like $279. Repairs and durability are really not a good standpoint for this phone, so definitely having a case or something to protect the phone will definitely mean that you'll save a lot of money if you do get one. Not necessarily MacBooks, but every iPad and iPhone all had this one home button right in the center, and that's something that we're going to miss with this phone. And obviously then, if you don't have it, you've got a lot more gestures to use. And from what I've read and seen in reviews and articles, the software implementation of the lack of home button is honestly not all that good as of yet. So obviously that can be fixed with a software update, but it is just kind of a pain to have a brand new phone that then you need to wait until a software update is released to get the features and to get it to work how you want it to. So to summarize, honestly the iPhone X is Apple's best phone that they have released in the 10 years they've been releasing phones. And if you're willing to spend that much money on a phone, honestly it is probably your best bet, especially if you're an Apple fanboy and you have been since the beginning. Personally, I'd recommend actually waiting until next year's release, because we're expecting to see an iPhone 11 or an iPhone 11 Plus as well, so a bigger model of the same phone. Now whilst yes, you have the irritating things like the lack of a home button, hopefully that'll be there next year, which is why I definitely recommend waiting. But if you're currently looking for a brand new iPhone, definitely get the iPhone X over the iPhone 8, purely because the 8 is just a rebranded 7 with a glass back and wireless charger. So yeah, that's pretty much it from me for this video, so thank you guys so much for watching, and I will catch you in my next one.